Hello there. This is André and I am Camilla. We are here today to talk about how we at Elkjøp prepared our Neptune-based in-store sales tool, which is known as Blueberry, for Black Friday, ensuring a good performing application across all Nordic Elkjøp stores. Some background figures. At Black Friday, more or less all hands are on deck. Elkjøp has around 11,000 employees, and more or less everybody uses Blueberry some way. At Black Friday last year, 160,000 transactions were created through Blueberry during the store opening hours. And I can tell that even though Black Friday is the day where commerce has its highest share of orders in regards to number of orders transaction, it was still more orders created through Blueberry this day as well. I will come a bit back more to the architecture of Blueberry after, but the idea has been to utilize external APIs. Last time I counted, we were above 100. And on last Black Friday, we did more than 24 million external API calls. Having these figures, how did we prepare for being scalable? But before sharing more of Blueberry and its infrastructure, we'd like to introduce a bit ourselves and the companies we are representing. Over to you first, André.
Yes, thank you. So, my name is André. I'm a senior system consultant with Elkjøp, and I've been working there since 2011. We've had the pleasure of working with Neptune DXP for 3.5 years now. And as Elkjøp is the market leader within electronic retail, it's crucial for us to have a good performing sales tool to keep the employees and customers happy. And within retail, Black Friday is definitively the biggest day of the year. So with help from Einar, we built our new sales tool named Blueberry, and it's built upon DXP Open Edition and serving our more than 400 stores.
So again, my name is Camilla. I'm a partner at Einar, which I was part of co-founding back in 2015. More or less since I graduated back in 2005 from a Master's of Information System, I have worked within the retail industry, like more or less the rest of my soon-to-be 45 colleagues at Einar. We at Einar like to call ourselves retail experts. We are a good mixture of functional and technical resources, and I will state that we excel in our ability to combine process understanding with technology. Our 3 key values are competence, ability to deliver, and team. These 3 values together enable us to succeed together with our customers. Einar is also a software house and offers a compliant POS solution, POS-B, which is also based on Neptune. And amongst others, Elkjøp is also a customer of this solution. Before we are coming further to the details, we would like to share you a video to get a little understanding of what Blueberry is and what it supports. Blueberry is built as a set of apps. Dividing it into more apps have its benefits when it comes to deploy and dividing work between several developers. And I actually think we were quite early in the mindset of micro frontends, which is now a very popular term. As I said, our principle has been to not replicate any data. So we do not store products, prices, customers. More or less the only thing we store is the basket that are created. And we are only dependent on these until they are exported to ERP. Elkjøp has an own in-house dev team, which focus on making data available through scalable APIs. And as you can see on top of these figures, we use a lot of them. For example, to get the store data, all which kind of sales office and so on a store belongs to, the addresses, the opening hours, consumers, product and price, as I said, stock, which services we can sell along with an item, which mobile offerings we can sell for a phone, which delivery option we can offer our customers, digital signature when that is needed, payment options, as you saw also in this video. The payment options we had at the end is also the available options we are getting back from an API. So B2B invoice, for example, will only be available if we have chosen a B2B customers. You also saw financing options and that we can upload receipts and then show them again later in Blueberry. In the video, you also saw how we could search and filter products. Here we are using Fact Finder. The same search solution which also commerce uses. We knew from legacy that sellers often uses the website to find the products and just copied and pasted it into the POS system. So we thought, why not use the same engine? So we did. You also saw in the video how we can look at orders after they have been created, in which they, in the meantime, also maybe have been modified in other channels. As an example, a customer comes to a store, do a sale in Blueberry, and agree a time for delivery with the seller. When the time is closer, the customer sits at home and sees, no, I'm not now no longer available at that moment. So he logs into my page, changes the time slot for delivery, and right after, when you open the order again in Blueberry, it will be updated with new delivery time. For the today list showing the sales performance, we request data from Snowflake, which is the source of many other of the reports that Elkjøp uses. Both for Snowflake and the microservices, of course, many of the ERP and SAP applications at Elkjøp are the main source for data. So, a bit more over to you, André, and the infrastructure.
Yes, thank you. So, this is our current infrastructure, and it works great. We have a redundant set of Kubernetes clusters built on top of Azure SQL databases, which are also redundant, and everything is put behind the F5 load balancers. I'm sure I could speak for hours about this, but I think we'll save that for the after-work session. So let's rather go back in time and talk about how we started our Neptune journey instead. So first of all, 7 years back, we started our transition to a more modern IT landscape. And microservices was high on the agenda for us. And back in 2016, we had our first successful solution running in Azure. And afterwards, we moved more and more to cloud. And as of today, we have a cloud-first mindset and run most of our apps in Azure, including Blueberry. But everything started early 2019 with SUSE Linux virtual machine. And to be frank, I wasn't so happy when I got this machine running because it was quite dated at the time, and we had lots of struggles with getting Node and all the libraries working as it should. But we got it working in the end. Some months later, we noticed that the increased amount of load on the system and extra users made things perform a bit bad. So I spoke to André, pretty sure he's out there somewhere, and he supported our idea of adding more instances to the same instance. So we ended up with 3 times Red Hat Linux servers, which were more modern. Got no issues with the, with the platform running and all the libraries. And that worked quite well for us until we started preparing more for Kubernetes. And that's the next step we had. So in the fall of 2019, we reached out to Neptune again and got in touch with Thomas and Ian. Not sure if they're here. Hi. So this is where everything started for us, really, to kind of move into the more scalable and the plan we wanted all the time, to be able to scale up when needed and have the exact performance we wanted. And I think we were among the first customers running Kubernetes, at least with this big application on DXP Open. To be fair, it was not always a walk in the park. Did hit some trouble on the way, but we got it all working quite well afterwards. So with only 2 weeks left before we were supposed to go live in Denmark with our first store, we actually got everything working. So that was quite an achievement for us. So as the Blueberry project continued and we added more and more stores, we knew we had to do something about the scaling to ensure that everything was kind of where we wanted it to be. And we used months of tuning, looking into the resources, and found the sweet spot for regular operations to be around 10 nodes. And as you can see, each of them are quite powerful, and they run 3 pods each. So that's the sweet spot for our daily operations most of the year, but obviously not when we go into the peak season. So for Black Friday, we actually needed to scale quite big up. So we ended up with these numbers. So for last Black Friday, we needed to do an upscale of 250% to ensure we could have smooth operations in all of our stores. And Camilla, what's the secret to get us scaling right?
It's all about testing. We do regular performance testing with increasing frequency in front of Black Friday on peak season. Currently, we are using K6 as a performance tool. When we came to this scaling, it was several rounds before we kind of succeeded. As you saw in the figures before, we are kind of dependent on very many other endpoints. So just scaling ourselves does not help us a lot. So we needed to tune to make sure that all was scaling together. After we came like a start, we could even start to do the fine-tuning. And it was during the fine-tuning we came, for example, down to what was the optimal number of pods per node for us. So how did we test it? Yes, we ran a test. Took 1 pod per node, then repeated the same test, now with 3 pods per node, found the figures better, did it one more time, this time with 4 pods per node, and did not find better figures. So now we could see that, yeah, we could probably stay with 3 nodes. But just testing and scaling, of course, we could probably scale, they say, forever, but there are probably some stop somewhere. But we need also to ensure our code. So we really work a lot of continuously improving code and ensure that our code is as performance-friendly as it could be all the time. In addition, when you see all those dependencies that we have, we also work a lot with reducing dependency, meaning that in case of one of the endpoints being down, for example, the endpoint you saw we were using for finding the home delivery options. If this does not respond, how can we still sell in store the goods we actually have in store? So we ensure that. And even though the stock service is down, we still allow to sell if the seller really knows that he has the stock here, the customer is here, I don't want to send him out without any items. So we allow that. Of course, with information to the sellers that he is now on his own. In a day-to-day operation, monitoring and alerting is also extremely important. And we also use a lot of time on that. For monitoring and alerting, we are using the Azure portal itself to look on more or less the database to find what are the long required queries and what indexes can we put on. For checking endpoints when they are starting to fail, we trigger alerts with Instana, and we can easily see in Instana which kind of endpoint is the source of this fail, so we can localize it and then bring on the correct team. Because it can often not be our team since we are so many dependent endpoints. In addition, we also use Grafana to monitor our infrastructure. So for the CPU and memory, etc., we are using that. And we are also actually using now Grafana together with K6 in our performance testing. So yes, it is quite time-consuming to make sure that we have a scalable solution. So in addition to creating new features for Blueberry constantly, we also use a lot of time to ensure scalability. But I also actually think that we proved that preparation enabled us to succeed. On last Black Friday, which was the first big challenge for us, since it was the first year that we had all Nordic stores on Blueberry, we had no scaling issues with our platform. So with those last words, I want to thank you for all joining this presentation. I hope you find it interesting, and I know that we will open for some questions here with the audience.
Yes. Thank you, Camilla. So with every customer you're going to have here today, we would like to open for audience Q&A. So we have 2 volunteers from Neptune that are going around with a microphone. So questions to our guests? If not, I have one. So while you're thinking of a question, on that Black Friday, of those millions of transactions, how many went into error?
From our side, we had like a very, very low percentage on all endpoints. We had a little time where it was some short interruptions, else we were almost up to 100% success rate all day through.
So in terms of scalability, your concerns is to maintain operations, to keep everything working, so that the sales rep can actually think on one thing, which is actually selling, right?
Exactly. Yeah, so they're really desperate to get things going fast in the store. So having, a fast-performing system is crucial for us, or else they will find other ways of selling stuff. Really, they will do anything to push out the items. So we need to ensure that the platform is running super smooth. And we've optimized the database and the Kubernetes instances to do exactly that. So we do monitor this all the time, and we see that everything is, most of the time, working very good.
I've experienced that as a avid customer of Elkjøp. Every time I go to Elkjøp, people are really positive and really friendly, and they are really not necessarily pushing you to buy something, but customer service is definitely their first concern. And I know one of the things that you have introduced with Blueberry is sales KPIs, right? A gamification of the sales KPIs. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, but it was not actually introduced by us. They have always been competitions in stores, and they are very good at working with their margins at Elkjøp. Of course, I hope that you also will be offered the good product, but yeah, they are very keen on competitive in regards to selling, which I think is a good for sellers.
Very, very good. Also, when we go to, if by any chance we have a Neptune shirt on, which happens actually, and go to an Elkjøp store, they'll say, "Oh, you're the Neptune guys. You're the Launchpad guys." I'm waiting for the discount on that one. But definitely, they recognize the brand, and then it's easy to just make some Q&A, what they think and stuff. And one of the things they like is that you were able to keep the shortcuts from the previous system to this system.
Yeah, that's kind of funny actually, because we saw with the legacy system that they were really fast since they're using the keyboard navigation. So, of course, introducing a web-based application, we thought, how can we kind of cope with that? So we actually spent then time on adding keyboard navigation to Blueberry. So now they can use a lot of the shortcuts, and we made it a bit extra funny then with reusing the same keys like F3 and F1 and so on.
Keeping them to be able to still operate at the same speed as day before, but with a modern consumer-grade interface.
Yes.
Really, really nice. Any questions before we let our... Yes?
I have a question. What devices is Blueberry running on? So is it always because you just mentioned that they are using keyboards, or are they also using mobile devices for?
Yeah, when we first started Blueberry, we thought that going mobile would be like the biggest thing. But we still knew that there will be a lot of desktops around in the store, that they will use also desktops. But what we saw after Go Live was that it's a big change to go from desktops to mobile devices for the sellers. I think they feel more confident with their kind of sales station. But we have all the time, and we offer all the same functionality through mobile devices. They ended up with Honeywells because they wanted to have rugged devices so they do not kind of ruin them so easily, and not get a lot of phones stolen and so on. So it's Android then.
So it's running on a mobile client on...
Sorry?
You are using a mobile client for the Honeywell devices, or is it in browser?
It's in, yeah, we have made an app for that, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Question?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. Considering the huge number of transactions, do you have any plan to upgrade on S/4HANA?
Yeah, that's more or less the SAP ERP question, and for Elkjøp, I know that they are planning to upgrade to S4. They are already on a HANA database on their ERP system.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a quite interesting journey that you have had. Like, how has Neptune enabled like the end users, like the sales reps, to actually give feedback or change the way that the interfaces that you have made, which makes them to sell faster?
Yeah, so we have kind of UX on part of our project. And they, of course, spend a lot of time also with in-store, really in touch with the sellers, super users, which are in the stores, and of course, with the knowledge of the product owner and so on. I think we have come to a kind of good way. But we are still improving of how can we get more feedback from the sellers in store to even improve better.
Thank you.
We have time for one more question.
We have one more.
Ron Elling.
Yeah, thank you very much for the great presentation. It was very interesting. One question I have, did you consider a different tool to Neptune as well? Hopefully not.
Maybe André will say more about that.
Yeah, well, there was a process earlier on, and we had some options. But in retrospect, I'm really thankful we went this way. I'm not going to mention any competitors' software, but yeah, this was the good option, definitively.